What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host and DC sports fan, Ben Robertson, and on this page, we break down all the biggest headlines and rumors surrounding the Washington Wizards. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to drop your comments as well. I appreciate all the support here on the road to 1K, and thank you for tuning in every single weekday. Today, I want to continue looking at some of Bleacher Report's season predictions for this upcoming year. And then I want to dive into yesterday's comment section. I asked for your biggest thoughts and questions heading into the preseason and got a ton of great responses. Again, appreciate all the support down there as well. And kind of want to chat about some of those thoughts and ideas I saw from you guys. So, like I said, let's jump right in here today from the to those Bleacher Report discussions. We kind of continue looking at some of those Bleacher Report predictions as well as some of the award talk going into this upcoming year. Again, they've released their expectations for every team's rookie draft picks. And of course, Trey Johnson, Will Riley, Jameer Watkins being mentioned for the Wizards. Interesting notes on Watkins and Riley, expecting opportunities for both of them, particularly Will Riley, especially as the year goes on. More intrigue there, and really maybe the focal point of the article, unsurprisingly, about Trey Johnson and Bleacher Report with some serious expectations for him in year one, saying he's virtually a lock for first team all rookie, and also saying he could vie for the Rookie of the Year award. That's something I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth. I've probably frustrated myself a little bit about just with what I think Trey is going to do in year one. On one hand, there's other players on the roster and even in front of him, at least right now, if you think about a CJ McCollum, that can really score the basketball and can really fill it up. Obviously, Keyshawn George, Cam Whitmore, those guys I think you could put in that category as well. And so I wonder if there's certain nights that he might get just a little bit lost in the shuffle. And there might even be games where, he does go off for 20 or 25 points, but we want to see it followed up, and we might just not get that opportunity because of how the rotation works out. On the other side of that, with, you think McCollum and Middleton might be sitting out some, back-to-back nights, things like that could open up minutes in that regard. And even in coming off the bench, I do think there's going to be plenty of opportunities for Trey Johnson to have some big nights. My question is really, how often are we going to see it? My kind of last point on that, and again, these are sort of the things I'm sort of floating around right now in my head as I try to kind of envision what this rookie year for Trey is going to look like. But the last time we saw him playing with the Wizards during Summer League, he was playing with guys that were going into year two. You think Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, AJ Johnson were on the Summer League roster. And Trey stepped in right away and looked confident and looked comfortable and was one of the best players and best scorers on the court. So I hope he can have that impact as he enters the NBA season as well. But I want to chat, like I said, about things that I kind of just saw down in the comment section yesterday. Again, asked for your biggest points of interest and biggest question marks going into the preseason. One thought I got back, and of course, we always chat about the biggest headlines and rumors surrounding the Washington Wizards. And one idea I got back was go after Nikola Topic of OKC. Of course, missed his entire rookie season with an ACL injury. And don't touch my silver 8202. And if you've been here on the page consistently, you've seen him in the comment section, says give the Thunder whatever they want for Nikola. Now, there was obviously big news with him coming out yesterday as well. He's going to be out for 6 weeks with testicular surgery. I'm just kind of cringing just at the thought of that, but we'll leave that alone. But obviously another setback for him after missing his entire rookie year. Now, it's not unheard of for players to miss that rookie season and still go on to have success. Of course, OKC just had a guy like that in Chet Holmgren, but this is, of course, again, another setback for him. And they were sort of expecting him to maybe back up Shea this year and play a decent role. Nicola's the 6'6", point guard out of Serbia. He's been playing professional basketball since he was 16 years old, so a ton of experience. He's kind of known, the book on him, he's known as a really good playmaker, has great court presence, a good finisher, not a great outside shooter. That's kind of the book, from my understanding and watching a little bit of his game on Nikola Topic. I do think that if maybe he were to get shops, or maybe if there are any ideas, I wouldn't mind Will Dawkins making a call here. I'll put it there at the very least. Now, some might be a little bit worried about the injury history, but I wouldn't mind Will Dawkins inquiring here with OKC on the status of Nikola. I imagine he already sort of, with his connections there, has a little bit of an inside scoop on that player, but would love to know your thoughts there. Obviously it would have to be for the right price if a deal was made at some point throughout this year, but I do think he might fit a role that the team doesn't quite have in this young core as kind of a true distributor, a true playmaker. I think we're hoping, and I'm high on Bub Carrington. I think we're hoping he can prove that he fits that role this year, but I'm not sure he's quite shown it yet. So, sort of interested there. Another interesting, and this is more of a question that I saw come out of the comment section, and I thought this was a really good one as well. Do the Wizards currently have anyone on the roster that commands a 2026 first round pick? The question excluded Alex Sarr. So they said he's not part of this. This comes from Multiverse Joe. Appreciate you dropping your thoughts there as well. Remember, the team doesn't control their first rounder next year. We talk about all the time, if it falls within the top 8, they'll hold on to it, but they don't really have control over it, with the Knicks technically kind of, again, having control over it for this year. So by, again, kind of going into this season, we all sort of talk about they're hoping to keep that pick essentially by tanking and essentially by finishing at the bottom of the league. So if you were to add a 2026 first rounder for next year, it would give you a ton of options. You kind of get yourself out of that dilemma of essentially we have to be bad to hold onto our pick. You kind of have the option now, hey, do we want to work with that trade piece now? We have a new first rounder to work with. Or you could land yourself one of the players in what's supposed to be an excellent draft class next year. So if you could gain a 2026 first rounder at some point here this year, that would be huge. The one problem with that is that I'm not sure, at least right now, there's a player on the roster that commands that type of trade value. I know that we've looked at CJ McCollum trades going into this year. I don't think, because of his expiring contract at this moment, he kind of commands a first round pick back. Now, I do think with the way he could start his season, you wonder, is there an opportunity? Is there maybe a team that would get desperate enough to throw a first rounder your way? I also think Keyshawn George, Cam Whitmore, who I've already mentioned today, have opportunities to skyrocket their value this season. Now, I'm not saying they should be moved for a first rounder, but I would not be surprised if now, after this year, after a few months of this season, they've kind of worked their way into just kind of holding on to that trade value around the league. Again, I do think if there's any way the team could add a first round pick, another first round pick next year, that would be massive, especially for us as fans, because we wouldn't have to actively root for the team to lose games. That's kind of just not fun. It's a terrible dilemma to be in, and it would be nice to just, it's fine, if we somehow knock off the Bucks on opening night, great, that'd be awesome, and we can just root for that instead of having to worry about holding on to a pick. But the last thing I want to talk about here today, and honestly, probably a couple days late here on this conversation. I know it came out and was sort of swirling last week, but the monumental YouTube TV Hulu discussions. Of course, YouTube TV and Hulu have dropped Monumental Sports. That news coming out last week. That means the Wizards and Capitals won't be available on those services moving forward. As a YouTube TV subscriber myself, this is very disappointing. And for a while, YouTube TV was, I love the service. It was a cheaper option to cable and still got 99.9% of what you needed. However, at this point, with the loss of Monumental, or if they're not holding on to Monumental, now, the Caps, the Wizards, and the Nationals are not on YouTube TV. Masson already wasn't part of that package. I'm not a TV media deal contract expert in any regard, so I'm just going to kind of give you my view from afar on this. And it's one of the reasons I was sort of hesitant to talk about this, just because I try to keep things on the court, to be quite honest, instead of on the business side of the organization. But from what I'm seeing, YouTube TV and Hulu are claiming essentially not enough people are watching in this market. Between the Capitals, Wizards, and Mystics, I just don't believe that, to be quite honest. I think, again, the acting like DC or the DMV really as a whole is a small market around the country. Will bother me to no end. It's just not. It's one of the biggest media hubs in the country. I understand if you want to say, New York, LA are bigger, but it is up in that echelon. Um, so I don't believe that for a moment. However, I do kind of get the sense that Monumental is putting on maybe a bigger show of all this and acting like they were fighting harder than they really were. Because at this point, from my understanding, our option to now watch Wizards basketball is to go straight through Monumental Sports. We can either pay them $100 a year or $180 a year or $20 a month. So definitely a bummer here for me. I'm kind of hoping there's still, as we saw with college football a couple months back, maybe there's an agreement that can still be reached here in the final moments, but definitely interested to monitor that. Want to keep tracking that. And I thank you guys again for all the support here on the page. Keep tuning in every single weekday. Hit those like and subscribe buttons, turn on post notifications, and thanks for watching another episode of Wizards Latest.